Everyone warned him not to go near the dog. The retired police K9 had a reputation across the entire state. Aggressive, unpredictable, dangerous. 3 handlers had already refused to work with him. Yet on a quiet afternoon, a blind war veteran slowly walked into the training yard and reached out his hand. For a moment, the entire room froze. The massive German Shepherd stepped forward, and what the dog did next left every officer completely speechless. Because the most dangerous police dog anyone had ever seen suddenly did something no one thought was possible. Dogs have saved countless lives throughout history. They search for missing people, protect officers in dangerous situations, and sometimes they heal wounds that humans can't see. Today's story is about one retired police dog and one man who had already lost everything. Their meeting seemed impossible, but what happened that day would prove something powerful. Sometimes the most broken souls understand each other better than anyone else. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments, what country are you watching from today? Now let's begin. Part 1, The Retired K9. The dog's name was Shadow. He was a massive black German Shepherd who had spent nearly 7 years working as a police K9. Shadow wasn't just any police dog. He was one of the most successful tracking dogs the department had ever trained. He had helped capture dangerous criminals. He had located missing hikers lost in freezing mountains. He had even helped rescue survivors after a building collapse. But Shadow had also earned another reputation. He was extremely aggressive. During operations, that aggression made him effective. But after retirement, it made him difficult. When Shadow's handler was seriously injured during a raid and forced to retire, the dog was left without the one person he trusted, and everything changed. Shadow refused commands. He growled at new handlers. He barked at strangers. Twice he nearly attacked volunteers trying to care for him. Eventually, the department made a heartbreaking decision. If Shadow couldn't be placed with a safe owner, he might have to be euthanized. No one wanted that outcome, but no one knew how to help him. Part 2, The Veteran. Several miles away lived a man named David Miller. David had once been a soldier. For 12 years, he served his country overseas. But during his final deployment, an explosion changed everything. The blast destroyed the vehicle he was traveling in. When David woke up in the hospital days later, doctors delivered the devastating news. He had survived. But he had lost his eyesight. Returning home was harder than he expected. The world felt unfamiliar. Every street sounded different. Every step required caution. The independence he once had was gone. Some days David felt like he was walking through darkness that would never end. Then one day his rehabilitation counselor made a suggestion. "You might benefit from a service dog," she said gently. David hesitated. He had grown up around dogs. He loved them. But caring for one while blind felt overwhelming. Still, he agreed to try, and that decision would eventually lead him to Shadow. Part 3, An Impossible Match. At the police K9 training facility, officers were discussing Shadow's future. "He's too dangerous for a normal family," one trainer said. "He only listens to his old handler," another added. That's when the program coordinator mentioned David. "A blind veteran is looking for a service dog," she explained. The room went silent. "You can't be serious," one officer replied. "That dog could hurt him." But the coordinator had an unusual thought. Sometimes retired police dogs struggle because they lose purpose. David had also lost purpose. Maybe, somehow, they could help each other. After weeks of discussion, they decided to try something simple: a supervised meeting. If Shadow reacted aggressively, they would stop immediately. No risks, no pressure. Just one meeting. Part 4, The Meeting. The training yard was quiet that afternoon. Several officers stood nearby, watching carefully. Shadow waited behind a fence, pacing slowly. His ears twitched at every sound. When David arrived, he walked slowly across the gravel path with the help of a cane. He could hear the dog breathing somewhere nearby. "Is he big?" David asked with a nervous smile. One officer chuckled softly. Very big. They guided David toward a bench near the enclosure. Shadow stopped pacing. He watched the man carefully. David took a deep breath. Can I try something? He asked. The officers hesitated. Then one nodded. David stepped closer to the fence. Slowly, he reached out his hand. Everyone held their breath. Shadow moved forward. Step by step, closer, closer. Then suddenly, the German shepherd pressed his head gently into David's hand. The officers stared in disbelief. Shadow had never done that before. Part 5. The Unexpected Change. Over the next few days, trainers allowed David and Shadow to spend more time together. Something incredible began to happen. The aggressive police dog became calmer around David. He stopped growling. He stopped pacing. Instead, he stayed close, sometimes resting his head on David's knee, sometimes walking quietly beside him. Trainers realized something surprising. Shadow wasn't dangerous. He was grieving. He had lost his partner, just like David had lost his sight, and the life he once knew. Together, they understood something no one else could. Loss. And slowly, they helped each other heal. Part 6. The moment that shocked everyone. Several weeks later, trainers decided to test Shadow's ability to guide David through a simple obstacle course. It wasn't something police dogs were trained for. Service dogs required very specific skills, but they wanted to see how Shadow would react. David held the harness. Ready, boy, he whispered. Shadow stepped forward. Carefully, the dog guided him around cones, around benches, across the yard. Every movement precise, every step controlled. Then something unexpected happened. David nearly tripped on a small obstacle. Before he could fall, Shadow pulled gently on the harness and stopped him. Perfect timing. Perfect awareness. The trainers looked at each other in shock. The so-called dangerous police dog had just performed the most important job of a guide dog. He protected his human. Part 7. A New Purpose. Months later, David officially adopted Shadow. The once aggressive police dog now lived in a quiet home with a man who trusted him completely. Every day they walked through parks, neighborhoods, and busy streets. Shadow guided David through the world he could no longer see. But David gave Shadow something just as important. A reason to keep going. A purpose. And for the first time since his old handler left, Shadow was truly calm. Part 8. The Aftermath. The story spread through the police department quickly. Officers who once feared Shadow now visited David just to see the incredible transformation. The dog, who had once been considered too dangerous to live with anyone, had become a hero again. But this time his mission wasn't chasing criminals. It was guiding a man through darkness, ending a powerful message. Dogs have an extraordinary ability to understand the human heart. They sense pain. They sense fear. And sometimes they sense exactly how to help. Shadow and David didn't just save each other. They proved something remarkable. Even the most broken souls can find hope again. Sometimes all it takes is loyalty, patience, and the quiet love of a dog. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more inspiring dog stories. And tell us in the comments, what country are you watching from today?